what's that all of this about? In some industries, it's enough that you will learn some techniques, some methods, some framework or whatever, and you are set, till retirement. Yeah? You can do the same things over and over again, and you can live your life, professional life. In IT, in modern technologies, this is not the case. Fortunately or not, if you are not learning all the time, developing yourself, then you are not only staying at some one place, but you are declining. You are becoming dinosaur. And at this presentation, we will tell you what to do so you won't become the dinosaur. And we won't tell you what technology to learn, I know Java or whatever, or some frameworks or some Scrum or Kanban or whatever. But we will tell you how to shape your path, how to see what's your vision, and how to put this in motion.
Yeah, this is important to think about it, at least for a little, because if you will be not aware about, regarding your personal development, maybe someday you will go to the interview and you will find out that your skills are not relevant anymore. Maybe you are senior now in your current company, you will go to the interview because you need to change the place or change the industry maybe, and you will find out you don't have skills even for the new junior in this company. So you need to think about it if you are not stay too long at the same place. And we'll tell you the story of Mike. So meet Mike. Mike, basically it's a mix of real persons, a few real persons. Basically, we find this behavior, and this is quite common. Like, we have a good person in the team who basically do the same all the time. Basically, it's okay, do the same, but don't develop himself. He find out, like, he see the young colleagues, juniors, who grow, rise, promote them, make a promotion, and do fancy stuff, but he don't. He do the same all the time and want to change it.
Oh, I shouldn't. Yeah, I should start like this. Yeah, we are basing our presentation on some philosophical teachings. You already saw the philosopher that I'm referring to, but I'm wondering who knows this guy. I think you know, but you're looking at your phone right now. Do you know this guy? All right. So yeah, I owe you some explanation. This is Laska. This is a person from the famous Polish movie from the 90s, Chłopaki nie płaczą, Boys Don't Cry. You can look it up, it's even on YouTube in VHS quality. And this is like some secondary character, but there is some scene when he asks the main hero some profound question. There is a profound wisdom in this question. Of course, he's all about smoking weed and stuff like this, but the question that he asks is that you should ask yourself one very important question. What you like to do in your life? And then it's very simple. You should just start doing this. And in this presentation, we will tell you how to start doing this. Why you should listen to us about this. My name is Krzysztof Rakowski.
And I'm Paweł Rakowski.
Yeah, we are not brothers, so we mark the letter that is different in our last names. Together we are around 30-something years in IT, yeah, when we sum our experience. And we have over, in total, 15 years of management experience. And for example, Mike, this is like a compound character of people that we worked with, that we developed. We are working in eMAG. We are the top e-commerce company in Central and Eastern Europe. We have something common with Sigma because we are a top employer in Romania. And also we are co-host of podcast called Nerd Management. You can imagine what we are talking about. We are talking about how to develop yourself as a manager, new manager or future manager in IT, but it's not only like technical, it's general for people who would like to develop themselves. And on the bottom, you will see that kind of links that refer to the episodes of our podcast, because there will be a lot of knowledge. So we want you to refer to the specific episodes, that if you would like to listen to them, they are in Polish, but they have English subtitles. And we prepared for you a website. We will give you a link at the end. There will be all the materials, all the links, all the books, etc., that we are mentioning. All right, so the philosopher that I mentioned, he asks us, he says that we need to ask ourselves what I like to do in professional life, of course. And this is something that we first start to ask ourselves when we are thinking about our professional development. We need to calibrate the compass that will be guiding us towards our whole career.
Yeah, and if you don't know, you have maybe no idea. But let's check. Do you know what you want to do in your life? 1, 2, 3, 4. So as you see, it's totally okay.
I don't know. I didn't raise my hand. I'm still learning that.
It's also good if you don't have any idea what to do, because I'll give you the example. 7 years ago, like maybe more than 7 years ago, before all the boot camps training was not famous as currently. There was no many programs, events, meetups, and so on. I created something like bunch of meetups, which changed later for the bootcamps, and I met around 600 people from the middle school, which will go to the university, go to the market in IT. And I asked them, okay, so what do you want to do in your life? And basically, from 600 people, just 4 of them have any ideas, and only 2 of them they did something. They did some events or write some code drums, write some application. So it's totally okay if you have no idea what you want to do, because you have time to look on this.
Yeah, so this is something that Kate asks us, so I will go quickly. This is also common for people who are senior in their role, yeah, they are having many years of experience, that we are doing, our everyday tasks, the same task over and over, day and day, and sometimes you notice, all right, so 5 years have passed and I'm doing the same and the same and the same. So this is also very common, and we are meeting with that kind of people, that they in some senior position, I don't know, senior developer, senior project manager, maybe some manager, they are leading people, and at some point they are like, all right, I'm not sure what I would like to do, how I'd like to shape my career. So this is not something that is common, as Paweł mentioned, to juniors, to people who are just out of high school. This is common for everyone. And getting back to Mike, this is, let's say, but this is real story. Mike's manager said, Mike, I noticed that sometimes you are very motivated and you are doing your job and everybody sees that you are great at it, and there are other moments then when we see that you are not that much motivated, and his colleagues from his team also were noticing that. And Mike said, yeah, that's true. I also noticed that there are days that I'm, starting at 9 and it's 5 p.m. and I didn't even, eat lunch because it was great what I was doing. And there are some times that it's 9 a.m. and I'm working for a very long time and it's 9:20. Yeah? What they decided to do with his boss, in fact it was me, that he started making notes about the tasks that he's doing, yeah? For example, when I'm doing this task, I'm really motivated and it's really exciting for me. I'm doing some other task and I see that, I don't like it. So the first important step is to get that kind of insight. We are not doing this frequently, that we are just, doing this stuff, and sometimes we notice that, at the end of the day we are not that very happy or not that motivated. But it's important to make that note, so for example you can review it, after a whole month or at least a week. Other thing that's, let's say, exercise that you can make is to try to imagine how does your ideal workday look like. And life in general. Try to imagine that if you don't have the constraints like money or the company that you are working right now, or mortgage, or that you can't travel at the moment or whatever. Try to imagine your perfect day in your job, perfect work. Of course, some of us would say, all right, so my perfect day is lying on the beach for the whole day. This is not the point here. You have to be realistic, yeah? And the book that I recommended, the 12-week year, I always confuse the name. This is a nice book about creating habits, but what's more important is that in this book there are some specific techniques that you can create some kind of vision for your life. Create some list of the things that are really important in your life regarding your work and your personal life, and this is something that might be useful for you.
And this is important to know and have some idea how this should look like. This, your perfect work, your perfect condition, and if you have no idea what you want and where you want to go, the best idea is that you use tools, not reinvent the wheel. Use the tests for the profiling tests like Wealth Dynamics or Clifton Strength. You know those tests? Who knows those tests? Who use it? Not many, so one, two hands. This is important because this kind of test will show you your strength, your weakness, things where you should invest time, what is natural for you, how you should communicate with each others. And here you see the example of the Clifton Strength, the full report of the Clifton Strength report, and it shows you the things. What is the most natural for you? What is your natural strength? What is your talents? And what you can use to develop yourself, build this perfect career, perfect work. And there is also a trap because I don't know how you working in your case, but most often it's like that. We see, okay, we have here like 34 strength. Spread from 1, which is the best, it's for me, and the list is like the analytics. For me, everything about analytics is really bad. And normally we'll try repair the biggest weakness to improve it a little, and this is bad. This is wrong. You should invest on your strength and focus on this, and based on that, build your perfect job.
Yeah, and sometimes it's surprising when you get the result, but then it really clicks when you are reading the reports. On the website that we will link you can get some discount of one of the tests. We are not getting anything from that. Paweł just found some discount on the internet.
Yeah, and it still works.
Yeah. So yeah, this is completely... okay, so mentoring. This is a great tool that we see in our daily work with the people that we are working with. When you are working with mentor, the person who is working in the industry or did what you are doing right now, this person did it like 5 years ago or 10 years ago. This is really awesome tool, and it's really great to have a mentor because this person will guide you. Yeah? He or she will tell you, all right, you can choose this path or different path. How to get a mentor? For our people, I think this is the easiest. We just get some people and we pay them to be mentors for our employees. But of course, this is like the easiest path. Yeah, you can find that kind of people in your company, in your sphere of influence. You can find them on events like this through the networking, or if you are not into that kind of relationship, because relationship with a mentor is demanding. Okay? You need to prepare, you need to work. You cannot expect that this mentor will prepare everything for you. Then you can just, for example, follow the people that you admire on LinkedIn, Twitter, or whatever. Yeah, maybe not on TikTok, and see what they are proposing, what they are discussing, what books they are recommending, what blog posts they are writing. And this is like kind of, let's say, virtual mentoring, yeah? But you are learning from them, and they are most frequently very open to conversation. You can write to them, and they will, for sure, they will respond to you. So this is one of the ways that you can use to get that kind of mentorship relationship. All right, so That was the hard part, and now the easiest part. So just start doing this. Yeah, when you get the vision that for your future, then you can just start doing that. And of course, this is not that easy because before doing this, you need to have.
Yeah, you need to,
sorry. I'm always hijacking that slide.
You need to take this.
We'll
show
cuts,
you. Yeah, we'll show you the six steps to take the proper mindset, because the key here to grow and develop yourself, it's a mindset.
Yeah, and you need to have your mindset properly. And first of all, you need to think if you can do it in your current place, the place that you are right now. If it's possible that you will develop your vision and you will do the things that you would like to do. And very frequently the first answer is no, I cannot do it at the place that I am because there are lots of daily tasks and it's the daily churn and it's really hard to do it. And we will show you that very frequently this is not true.
Yeah, and when we back to Mike have also those doubts. He thinks like, okay, so maybe this company don't allow me do this what I want because this is daily work. I did from the past years. I did the same, and all the time the same stuff. And he have assumption, and there is something like the curse of assumption, and you need to be aware if something when you have something in mind, if this is your assumption, because probably you will never check, you will never validate this assumption. Like Mike, he think maybe the company is not okay to do something new, but he never asked. And this is important to back to our childhood. When we were child, we try, fail, do experiments and go further. And you should also think on that way. If you want to do something, you need to try. You need to try and check if this will work for you or not. Also in this presentation, we'll show you many tips, tricks, and the tools. You should use it and check if they will work for you or not.
All right, this is first of my two favorite slides in this presentation. Paweł, you don't have to be able to read it, I will tell you. This is just a nice picture. But Paweł was saying about the children. There is a research by Dr. Carol Dweck from Stanford University. She was doing research on children in school. And she was looking at the language that parents and teachers are using toward the children and how they are shaping their future by the words that they are saying. And her team established that there are two kinds of mindsets that are formed in your school years. And you might exhibit more traits of the one or the other mindset. Of course, this is not like you are one or the another, but you might exhibit more frequently traits from one of another. And those mindsets are fixed and growth mindset. Did you hear, do you know about those concepts? No, great. So now you will know. People with fixed mindset, usually they have this concept that talents, intelligence is something that is fixed. So you are either intelligent or not, you are either smart or not, and you cannot do anything about this. So those people, when they see some challenges, they tend to try a little bit and they then give up. If there are some obstacles, they are not putting that much effort into overcoming them, because they think that this effort will go to waste. When they hear some feedback, especially if it's a criticism, negative feedback, they have many explanations why they weren't able to perform or do something, or they just try to, they are defensive. When they see others who are succeeding, they feel this as a threat, because they think, all right, my intelligence is something fixed. This person is succeeding, so this is a threat that I will be perceived as a little bit less intelligent or whatever. And according to research, those people are getting to the top of their performance and capabilities earlier. So they are not, they are not achieving that much if they had the growth mindset. And the people with growth mindset, they perceive, they think that intelligence, skills are something that you can acquire, you can learn and develop it. So they are like lifelong learners. They say, all right, I don't know how to do it, I will learn that, yeah? I will fake it till I make it, yeah? And when they see some obstacles, challenges, they, going head on and they are trying to solve those problems. When they know that if they put more and more effort, they will get more and more results. When they get some criticism, they take this feedback and try to learn something from that. And when they see others succeeding, they treat it as an inspiration. What I can learn from this person, what I can copy. And according to research, those people achieve more. They, have a higher achievements and they overall perform better. And what's important is that this translates not only in the performance in school, but those mindsets are present in our workplace, in our professional careers. It's of course important to remember that we are not either fixed or growth, but we are more frequently we are exhibiting the traits of fixed or growth mindset, and it's important that to notice that, all right, now I'm fixed, I'm exhibiting fixed mindset, what I can do to be more growth oriented.
Yeah, another very good thing is job crafting. And job crafting, it's also the thing which is based on the scientist research, and here it's all about creating your job, your position, your role. And job crafting have like three things. It's combined from the three things. First is the task crafting. You can basically create your task. You can set, okay, so what you want to do, how you would like to do, and based on your strength, you can choose what you want better, like what type of task is better for you. Second thing is relation crafting. You all work with people. Who doesn't work with people? There's someone. Yeah, we all work with people, so it's important to also craft this relation to support the task, and this how you see your perfect and ideal job. And the last one is meaning. You should craft the meaning of this what you're doing. You should have the vision, what you want to build, how your ideal work should look like, and based on that, and like have this in your mind. Create your own position, and if you think it's not possible, Chris will show you it will be possible.
Yeah, getting back to Mike, this is very frequent that we are working with people who think that they are stuck somewhere, and we are going through this process of shaping the tasks that you are working on, the relationships, and finding a meaning in your work. And it was the same with Mike, that he liked working on some specific tasks, seeing a big picture, but before that he even didn't think that he can do it differently, yeah? And the only thing that he had to change is that when he had some problem with some specific task and he wanted to involve other people, because he liked to involve other people, then instead of trying to Google solution, he asked his colleagues to have some short call and have a discussion, yeah? And so it's important that you might find, you might shape your work in the situations that you don't think it's possible. And the researchers that we had on the previous slide, they interviewed some people in some companies. And for example, one of the, I think, examples that is really great is the guy who was working in the cosmetics factory, and his only job was that he was getting the 25 kilo bags of some powder, and he was opening the bags, putting them into the machine, pushing buttons on the machine, started mixing it and preparing some cosmetics from that. And even he was able to craft his job and find the meaning and change the relationships he had and change the tasks that he was doing. So this is really possible. You just need to try to, based on the vision that you have that we discussed earlier, try to find that kind of elements in your daily work. All right. And when you start changing what you are doing, most probably you will start getting successes. And your colleagues will notice, your boss will notice, you will be praised for that. That's, let's say, a very, very frequent outcome of people who are crafting their job and changing what they are doing. And at some point, you might think that, all right, that you are lucky, yeah, with what you are doing, or that they will notice that you are not that smart, and it was just pure luck, not something that you worked hard or you put some work into that. It's very likely that this will happen because according to research, over 70% of employees at some point felt the imposter syndrome. So felt that they are inadequate, that they are pretending, that they are faking, and in fact their boss or their colleagues will notice at some point that they are fake. It's important to be aware of that this is not that you are failing, this is just the feeling that is common, and by this awareness you will be able to overcome that. It's just important to remember about this.
Yeah, and also have in mind all the failures, because our environment, schools teach us like all failures are basically bad, something terrible. But this is lie. You should have in mind the all failures are good. You can learn from them. You can see what is work, what not, what direction is good, what's not. There's no something like problem. You don't have problem. You have opportunity to learn, and this is important. And important is also to have a place where you can write down all those fails and also the lesson learned. We used something what we call the success book. It's a place where we write all the successes for each people, what good they did at work, because it's important if they will fail and do mistakes, to have a list also of a list of successes, to see like, man, you did a lot of good things. Like you cannot do, like you cannot find solution currently for the problem what you have. It's totally okay. You learn a lot, and you can also write down all those failures and lesson learned to not repeat them again and try another solution, another way, another direction.
This is also useful if you want to get some raise, and yeah. And recently you had some problems, but before you didn't. All right, so let's summarize the steps to proper mindset. I think it's your slide.
Yeah, so as we said, like it's 6 of them, so you need to be aware of the possibilities. You should have in mind this course of assumption and always validate if this is assumption, or you check if you can do something. You need to be aware of those 2 types of mindset, if you're more fixed or growth, or when you can switch. You can job craft your position, your role, your job, your ideal career. Be aware of imposter syndrome, because it's common, and you need to have in mind like this silent voice on your head, back on your head. It's something normal, and remember that all failures are really, really good and useful.
Yep. So now we can tell you about the tools that you can use if you want to get this vision on track and actually start doing that. And first of all, your main ally is your boss. Why? Because it's I think, reasonable assumption that we should develop during those 8 hours that we are paid to work during the day. Yeah. Of course, we frequently learn after hours. Now it's after hours, and we are here because we want to learn. But this is not like a sustainable long-term plan. We should learn, develop ourselves during our working hours. So we need to have our boss as an ally. If you are self-employed, if you are a freelancer, you have the worst boss possible because it's yourself. And it's even harder to convince yourself that, all right, I need to earn money for a mortgage or kids' school or whatever, or holiday or new flat or whatever. To convince yourself that, all right, I need to spend 20% of time or 10% of time learning. So by boss here we mean either your real boss or you the boss.
Yeah, when you have boss as ally, you should create with him your learning plan, the plan what you want to learn, what you want to achieve. When you have a vision for your perfect career, it's good to have the plan, and this plan should based on the values of your values, values of your company. It's really important to be aligned, because otherwise this will not work. It's also important to, based on those values, you should think about this, what you want to learn, what type of things you want to do, and what project you can support in your current work. And when you combine all those things, so values, project, and your needs, this will be the great learning plan, the great career path, which you can use for promotion. This, of course, it's complex, because for the one of the developer to get promotion, but you can use even something simpler, like with few things, and track it monthly where you are, if you are on track, if you are do something or not.
Yeah, Paweł is a very strict boss. This is plan for promotion of one of his developers, but of course it doesn't have to have like this many fields. It can be just one or two. What's important is that there are the dates and you are tracking your progress. So this is the most important part of learning plan. All right, Agile. I will say a few words about Agile. Who of you works in, for example, in Scrum, when your boss says what you will be doing in the next sprint? All right. It's good to know. On the development conferences, we have like many people raising hands, or they are too shy to show their hands. So kudos to you for being so brave here, because of course working in Agile, in Scrum, Kanban, or whatever, there are many Agile techniques, methods, is for your benefit if this is the kind of Agile where the teams are self-organizing. So where knowing what are your preferences, for example, if the whole team did a profile test or whatever, you could have a discussion where you can just, you can choose the tasks that you like more. Yeah? For example, Paweł is never choosing analysis task, because we know that he will do poor job in this, but he's choosing other tasks that he's great at. It's important to know that having proper kind of agile self-organizing team, for example in Scrum, that people can pick the tasks that they like, it's for your benefit, because then you can proceed with your career and go with your plan according to your vision.
Yep.
And getting back to Mike, he started changing his task. He was job crafting, he was doing things differently, and at some point he noticed that he starts failing. He of course put it in his success book, and he wasn't demotivated by that, but he noticed that he doesn't have enough knowledge. And of course this is obvious point that at some point you cannot just do things, you have to learn. But before you start doing this, you need to think about how you will be learning.
Yeah, and this is one of the most important slides on our presentation, because this word, like be like a seminar junkie. What this mean? Basically, this means you go to one event, meetup, conference, read one book, another book, go to the workshop, and basically learn all the time, but you will have no time to use the new knowledge in practice. So we strongly encourage you to check in practice this what we tell you, and try this. Don't learn too much. Use the knowledge in practice and check if this is for you.
Yeah, I think that this is most important slide. This is my second most important slide. Usually this is like a 1 hour presentation when I'm talking about this, so I have 2 minutes for this slide, so I will be quick, but of course I encourage you, we can talk about this after the presentation, because I'm really passionate about this. What's learning and knowledge management? I'm pretty sure that all of you are the same as me. For example, on my laptop I have a folder with 60 gigabytes of PDFs and presentations. In my Firefox I have like, I don't know, 1,000 or more bookmarks with some knowledge that give me some illusion of knowing stuff. This is of course not true. We are collecting junk and we don't remember that. This is just an illusion that we know something. So before we actually start learning, we need to know how to learn and how we are retaining knowledge. And this is the book that I recommend, Pragmatic Thinking and Learning. And author in this book recommends, he explains how our brains are working, how we are retaining knowledge, how we can see the forest instead of just the trees. And other subject, I'm really passionate about this, and I'm on the conference. People are, want to discuss about this, so I'm really open to discuss it. It's personal knowledge management. I'm the person that I cannot remember stuff. In general, I have very poor memory, so I need kind of external memory. And this is when the personal knowledge management tools come. Those are the tools that help you gather knowledge, but not in terms of having some folder and putting PDFs there or having some black hole of bookmarks folder in your web browser, but the tools that allow you to work not on some linear nodes of, notes from conference or notes from book or notes from meeting, but working on ideas. This is kind of like a Wikipedia or something like this. We are working on some idea, we are adding more and more information, and then we have like a second brain that we can retain and we can pull this knowledge. We'll put some links. It's a really exciting topic, yeah. But we don't have enough time right now. We can talk over beer about this.
Yeah, exactly. And about the beer, use this event. Use the event. Use the knowledge of other people. Ask questions, because this is the things. What is the something really great of the networking? Because you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Just ask questions. We will be here. Also, you are here probably. If you have some problems, probably someone in this room have solutions. So it's important to talk. Important to ask and share this knowledge, share this experience.
Yeah. And we are getting back to the mentoring. Mentor is not only the person who will help you shape your vision and shape your path, but also this is the person who then goes with you through this path and will answer your questions and help you develop yourself. Of course, it's very beneficial to have this mentor one-on-one, so we can meet with that kind of person and work with them and discuss with them your things. But this is like a first level. Second level is when you are working as a mentor to juniors in terms of experience. So you are helping colleagues that are less experienced in their careers. This is extremely beneficial because if you have to teach someone something, then you need to work really hard to understand the subject, to think about how to get this information, how to teach other, and this is really beneficial. And the other, let's say, ultimate level of mentoring, this is something that is called mastermind. There are different versions of that, but the idea is that people who are really experienced, at some point they are meeting together and first of all, they are working on helping each other to solve their problems. But on the other hand, they are thinking about how to help others. And this is something that we with Paweł are doing, and we say that in such case 1 + 1 is 11 because we multiply this knowledge and this experience. So this is a very valuable step. All right, and when you notice that really it's not possible in the place that you are right now, when you overcame the assumption that it's not possible, you tried job crafting, you tried speaking with your boss and creating the plan, and you really did everything, then if you see that it's really not possible, then you should find some other ways, find some other place to work and do it as quickly as possible, because you don't want to become a dinosaur after 5 years in the same place.
Yeah, so let's quick sum up and the three main takeaways what we want to share, and it's good to remember. So especially if you don't use the profiling test, use this one. Even the Valve Dynamics, this is the one what I used the most. But also Clifton Strengths, really good to know yourself better.
I prefer Clifton Strengths, but Valve Dynamics is also okay. Okay, job crafting, I think this is very important, that nobody will serve to you change in your in what are you doing. You have to craft it yourself. This is your responsibility. You need to craft your tasks, your relationships, and you need to find a meaning in your work. You cannot expect that your company will do it, or your boss will do it, or I don't know, your parents or whatever. This is your responsibility, and it's possible, it's really possible. People are doing that. And the plan, this is very important part. As I mentioned, it hasn't been, you know, if you don't have a boss like Paweł, it hasn't, you don't need to be that extensive, but the plan is really important.
Yeah, and think big, because the small things need the same amount of effort than things which were really big and can help other people's basically make a better life. So think big, don't do small stuff. Create your perfect and ideal work.
Yeah, don't waste time on small things. I think you are extremely interested how it turned out for Mike. So, of course, as we mentioned, this is like there are few people that were Mike in this presentation, and all of them, they crafted their job. They were getting successful. They were noticed by management, by colleagues. Maybe sometimes they changed the job, but the final outcome was that all of them were happy with what they are doing. Sometimes they changed their careers or shaped them a little bit, but they were satisfied, and that was the most important thing. This is the website with the presentation, links, and everything that we discussed, books, etc. And I think this is the best moment. We will leave it for some time, and we can have some questions.
Just like I was thinking about the part you say work with your boss, but I was thinking it's also like it's bad for the company. Like have a person that is very good in databases and he wants to change I don't know, to UI. I say, okay, that requires he needs to direct objects, he needs another logic of programming, that will cost a lot of money. It means that, one, for 3 months he will be kind of useless what he's learning, and one, I will lose a good employee in what he was doing. So I would also say, well, is it really worth it? But no, from the boss perspective, what would you say? I would say no, it's better just go, learn it, and then come back if you want. But
so I guess the question is if we have some employee, he's trained in some role, and he comes and says, all right, I want to switch, yeah, and the boss says no, yeah, because why I would lose some employee that is skilled in some specific field, is that, yeah? As a manager in that situation, I would knew that if somebody came like this and says that I want to switch careers, I just want to do it. So I will lose that DBA or whatever anyway, yeah, because he wants to switch careers. So if I not allow this person to switch careers, then he or she will go to the different company, because as we mentioned, if you cannot do it in your current place, then you have to switch. So there is not much point of forbidding this person to go with the path that they chose, because they will go anyway. Of course, it depends if we need that kind of, for example, UI designer or whatever. Maybe not. So anyway, this person won't stay that much long in our company. But from experience, I see that there is no point in forcing somebody to just sit and do what I'm telling you to do because I need DBA or whatever, because this person will leave sooner or later.
Yeah, there is also one additional point, because if you have someone who work in the company, you know the all domain, all the context, people, business, how everything works. If you work in the complex environment, like ours, for example, in Sigma probably is the same. induction of the new people to know how the business works, everything, it's like 6 months. So if you will, this person will go out because want to change the career, basically you have need to find something new and learn from scratch. And if someone want to change the path, basically know all the content, all the context.
Okay, so what would be like a trade of the, let's put it more like that, okay, let's city more like, so, okay, you want to do this, okay, you know the company, so it's better, okay, we can try it, but with the trade-offs, like, I don't know, say, you accept like for 1 year we don't have a promotion or something like that, I would say kind of trade-offs that negotiate that with the programmer.
Sometimes, obviously, you can negotiate because you want to retain this person. And sometimes you're forced because you need that kind of role, yeah, on your team, on your project. For example, this is the only DBA or whatever. But I will repeat: if you show this person that they can, they can go in the direction that they want to go, then they will. It's quite possible they will stay. If you tell them no, they will leave. That's obvious. Thank you.
Okay,
Great
thanks.
question.
Yeah, could you ask
Yes.
aloud?
Okay. Guys, thank you very much for sharing your ideas how not to be a dinosaur. So my question is, could you share your opinion? What will be the mainstream in IT in next 1, 2, 3, 5 years?
But what do you mean about the mainstream?
Mainly topics to develop, main topics to dive in, so not to lose time now. Like if we knew about the Bitcoin, maybe earlier, so we would go there. So maybe do you know some things, some stuff in IT? And you can share. Thank you.
Good question, but very, very hard answer. I can do it easy or hard. All right, easy way is we'll be having a great presentation by Michael in a few moments, and you can get lots of inspiration about the future and how to work with customers, etc. But it's not possible to, let's say, to see the future. Yeah, things are changing rapidly, as you see. I don't know. I don't have to say what happened during the last few years because you were witnessing that. So looking at the, for example, what's important for me, I'm seeing that it's harder and harder to get experienced employees. Yeah, there are lots of juniors in some fields, but it's hard to get experienced employees. So this is a problem, but also a chance, because more and more companies will do something. For example, what we are doing in Sigma, that they are training people. Yeah, and so you have more opportunities to train some specific technologies, and I think this is important to use that kind of opportunities. Yeah, because the knowledge will be more accessible, and it will be easier to learn stuff that's important on the employment market. Before, I think, 10 years ago, you had to learn somehow what would be the good direction, then learn the skill, and then maybe somebody hired you. So this is, I think, one thing. Do I have other technological predictions? This is a really hard topic. I cannot answer that easily, But as I mentioned on the first slides, we are not good at saying, all right, go into this or that technology, because you have to adjust to the things that you like, yeah, and you see that are good for you.
Yeah, so like easy answer, like it depends.
Okay, can I ask? I can help. Yep.
All right.
Guys, could you share between you microphone? Okay, cool.
Well, but I believe that I can speak out maybe without microphone. So thank you very much for this fruitful lecture, I would say. And my question is, if you would predict what are the soft skills that will be in demand within the next, let's say, 5 years, what would you say? What could it be? Just judging by the landscape that you are seeing now and seeing a bit into the future?
Yeah, so this is...
Because these are the things that you need to develop.
Mhm.
Hard skills, this is something that is quite easier to just grasp, yeah? But soft skills, you need to work on them now, to develop them now.
Yeah, that's true, and this is very, very valuable question, because the, let's say, we perceive people in IT, new technologies, sometimes as a nerds. They don't have any soft skills, they are just, in technology. And sometimes this is true that many people don't have that many soft skills. They are just doing their technical job and they are perfect at that. And more frequently we are seeing that people are lacking soft skills and they need to develop them. And we see more and more frequently on conferences, on some trainings, that there are more and more, for example, some trainings like soft skills for developers, soft skills for IT managers, etc., etc. And I think that the most important skills right now are those related to good communication remotely, yeah? Because this is something that we are still lacking after 2 years working remotely. That people say, all right, I don't want to come to the office, I'm great at working remotely, I want to work remotely, and then they don't answer on chat for like 1 day, yeah? And you don't know what's going on, or they don't turn on the camera. And so I think that those skills related to being more open to others, yeah, to being interested in your colleagues in the team. Sometimes you observe that we have a team and there are like 3 people who know each other from before the pandemics. It feels like 100 years ago, and there are some new people and they are like different, yeah, they don't work that good together. So I think this is the most important skill, because most of the companies are working remotely right now, or just like hybrid, but mostly remotely. So those skills related to, I would say, being interested in other people. So this is the first thing. And this is also something that I see people are lacking, is promoting your work, yeah? Telling about what you did and why you did it. And sometimes people say, all right, I don't want to brag, because if I do the good job, then people will notice. Usually they won't notice. So you need to not brag, but be open about what you did, share information. This is also like, if you are working remotely, share this on Slack or Teams or whatever. So I would say that those are the 2 most important soft skills. And I think Pavel thinks something different.
Not really different, because the basics are the same. It's the same as in the real estate industry. In the real estate, basically, it's a location, location, and location. And I think here it's also will be like communication, communication, and communication is the most important on all paths, not only remote communication, but normal communication. And after communication, I think comes empathy. To feel other people, to be able to put other shoes and think what they have in mind. This is really important, because we create more and more software without emotion. Maybe if someone create the software which simulate emotion, will be great, but it will not happen soon for sure. And the last thing what I want to add here is working in a partnership. More than a relation like, okay, client, boss and employer. It's more about the partnership, when we work on something because we like to work on this. We have our impact, our input to this, and it's much better than you have, I don't know, you are the boss, you have employees, and you will say them, okay, what they need to do, and they will not come to you with any proposal ideas. It should be like, be in the business.
But there is also a nice report I just looked up on my list of links in my Firefox by McKinsey about the future skills of future citizen. There are like hard skills and soft skills, and this is quite good report about the future skills that you would need in the future. near future.
Could you say that name again?
McKinsey report. We will put it in the web page
Thanks.
this evening or tomorrow, depends on how many beers I will drink.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Then you.
The most inspiring thing from the whole presentation was the idea to note down if I liked that task that I did or I didn't and why. But on the other hand, I personally have a job that requires a lot of context switching, so I guess it wouldn't work. It wouldn't be that easy. What would you advise you for me to do in order to achieve the same goal with a lot of context switches?
But you are context switching. I know it's pain, but still you are doing some tasks, and you like some tasks more and some tasks less. Yeah. So you can observe if you are, when you notice the tasks, you are happy to do it or not that much happy. So I think that it's possible to observe. Maybe I don't understand your question.
Yeah, this is precisely my problem, my question, my thoughts. That if I would work for a task for like a day, then at the end of the day, I can figure out, oh, I did like it, and because of that reasons. And if the task takes like half an hour, I don't have time to sum up because there is yet another task.
You can either in the tool that you are using, or sometimes it's not possible because you have like a Jira in your corporation or whatever. You can make a note in your notebook or somewhere with just, I don't know, plus and minus or something. Yeah. When you see the task and you are like, oh, then it's minus. If you see the task and you are like, all right, that would be okay, plus. And that's something, that's a start, yeah? Then maybe you will see some patterns, and then you can set aside, 1 hour to analyze the tasks that you were doing this day, and you can see, all right, I was doing database tasks and I liked them, and I was doing some, some other types of tasks and I really didn't like them, yeah?
And also you should ask yourself if you like this context switching, and should be the main question, and basically it's important because this is the reason why we start the Nerd Management podcast more than 2 years ago, because we find out that we have many in IT, we have many managers who comes from there was the senior developers, and unfortunately they become the managers and leaders, and they have no idea what they were not aware, their career path basically changed, turnover. It's something totally different. And this is really important because we have two concepts of the maker schedule and the manager schedule. So if you don't like this context switching, and you don't like your calendar to have the calendar, put every task for a half hour and totally different context, you would like to back to something when you can focus for the whole day. Maybe this is not a great job for you.
Cool, thanks.
I also have a question. First of all, thank you for the great presentation. And my question would be as follows. As a manager, how would you help an employee or a teammate to switch from this fixed mindset to growth mindset? Do you have any best practices?
Basically, in the show. Because people, as Chris said, it's kindly normal behavior, we're fixed, so I have no idea how to do something, and basically this is what I'm doing with my people. First of all, I show them the opportunity, what they can do. This is something that show them perspective. Okay, so I don't know this, but I have great team where I can ask for help. I'm not alone in this, and this is one of the main things what work in my team. So you are not alone. You can ask for help if you think it's not something good, or you have no idea what to do. Just ask, and better ask faster than later. This is also important.
The Googleable term is psychological safety. And this is the concept that it's very important for teams, that it's there are two concepts. Trust in the team trust is between people. And psychological safety is within the team. And it means that this is okay to fail. It means that it's okay to ask the questions that you might think are stupid. It's okay to question your manager or question senior employee or question some things that are perceived as a universal truths, yeah? And this is the main concept, yeah? And many things go from the psychological safety, but the most important is that people feel safe to do those things, to try, to experiment, to discuss. Then it allows them to have this growth mindset. And from the Carol Dweck's research, it was, for example, also words matter, yeah? When they were saying to kids that they failed, so this is like a closed gate, yeah, you failed, and that's it. Nothing left. And to other children that turn out to be having more growth mindset, they said, not yet. It's not yet, yeah? You have to learn a little bit more. So one thing that comes from this, the conclusion, is that not be too that kind of finite, yeah? Finite that you failed and that's it, yeah? You cannot do anything about this. It's not yet, yeah? You can improve. So this culture of lifelong learning.